Today is going to be the first day of a 2-day lesson we're going to be doing on Module 2, Lesson 10, where we're going to be working with percents. For the first example they give us, they say that 5 of the 25 girls at Aden Middle School's soccer team are 7th graders. Find a percentage of 7th graders on the team. Show 2 different ways of solving the answer. One of the methods must include a diagram or a picture model. So I'm going to take and start off with a diagram or a picture model. I'm going to jump over to some saved images I have where I've got a 100 chart. Woo, look how big that 100 chart is. And we're going to make this piece go away now. And then I'm going to resize this so that it fits better into that question. So here's my hundreds chart. And I know that 5 out of 25 is going to be equal to the number of girls. And we need to figure out what's the question to find the percentage. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this chart up into 25 student sections. And that is going to be easy because I'm going to put one vertical line in the center and one horizontal line in the center. And now each of those sections contain 25 blocks in it. From there, all I have to do is highlight up. So let's take and let's go to that size highlighter. So I've got 5 students here, 5 students here, 5 students here, and 5 students there. So I have 4 different groups of 25 students, and in every one of those groups, 5 of those students were highlighted. How many spaces are there total on my grid? Well, total on my grid, there are going to be 100 spaces. Of those 100 total spaces, how many of them are highlighted? Well, that's 4 times 5, which is 20. And we know that a percent is a ratio between some number and 100. So 20 over 100 is the same thing as saying 20%. Another way you could have done this using math is you could have taken and said that 5 over 25 times something over something is equal to something over 100. And then I'd say 25 times what is 100? That's going to be 4. If I do it on the bottom, I have to do it on the top. 5 times 4 is 20. And then we can say 20% of 100. Once again, that's 20 over 100, I should say. That is just going to be 20%. Now the textbook gave us another way of doing it, which I thought was pretty cool as well. What they did is they created a double line plot, and this is what that is. They just don't have their arrows on the end, going to where they had 0 to 100% of the students and 0 to 25 people total. And then they broke it down into the 5 sections. 20% was 5 students, 40% is 10, 60% is 15, and so on. So they broke that down. Let's take and actually look at how they did that, because I think we could show it a little bit better. Now, for this one, it said that of the 25 girls on the Aden Middle School team, 40% also play on the travel team. How many girls on the middle school team also play on the travel team? Well, I'm just going to take and copy this piece of work that I did right here. So I'm going to take and, let me try this again. So we're going to take that, I'm going to group it, I'm going to copy it and paste it, and then I'm going to bring it on down here. And right there we can see we've already done all the math for it, where at 40% that's going to equal to 10 girls. If we wanted to work this using mathematics itself or numbers, we could take the, in this case we had 25 of the girls. Let's see, 40% of 25. Ooh, that would be a little bit harder than doing what the other one did, but doing the number line worked great for us. So let me think on that one for just a second. All right, I think I know how I'm going to do that. I would write it as 40% of 25. We know that of means times, so that would be 40% times 25, and then we'd have to change our percent to a decimal, which is 0.4 times 25, and when you multiply that out, what are you going to get? You're going to get the 10 girls. But we haven't done a lot of math of that nature yet, but that's the way you could solve it using math instead of using your double number line. For example 3, Aiden Middle School girls soccer team won 80% of its games this season. If the team won 12 games, how many games did it play? Well, let's take a look at what they're actually saying to us. They won 80% of their games, and they won 12 games. So we know that 12 is 80% of the games they played. So a couple ways we could work on this. I could start off by saying that 80% is equal to 80 over 100. Of course, we can knock out those zeros, which means that's 8 out of 10, and that we could divide by 2 over 2 to find out that they won 4/5 of their games. From there, I can set it up as a problem that 4 out of 5 times something over something equaled how many games did they win? 12. And then I can say 4 goes into 12 3 times. If I do it on the top, I have to do it on the bottom. 3 times 5 is going to be 15. So the answer of how many games they won is going to be 15. But we could also do this using the double number line approach, which is really cool how this one works out. So let's take a look at it because we have to show it 2 ways. So I'm going to give myself one number line, and I'm going to take and copy that and paste it so it's nice and horizontal. I'm going to give myself another number line, and let me take and move those down just a little bit so that they're all have some room to write here. And then what do I know about it? I know they have games won and total games. I know that there's going to be some vertical spots going on in here. So the first vertical line I'm going to have is for 0, 0. And then way down here, I'm going to have another vertical line for that 80%. So I have 0 games won out of 0 played. I have 12 games won is going to be, actually that shouldn't be total, that should be percent down there, as 100%, not 100%, 80% right here. And then I need to take and start cutting some stuff up. So I'm going to change that real quick into the percent. And then I need to know some things. So we're going to take and do some vertical lines here. Half of 80% is going to give me 40%. Half of 40% is going to give me 20%, and halfway between 20 and 40%, that's going to end up giving me 60%. So the numbers I have right here are my 20%, my 40%, my 60%. That means that if I did another vertical line the same distance beyond that, right here, how many percents am I going to have? The 100% of the games total. Now, we're going to take and figure out what goes in these spots. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 sections that I have to divide by 12. So 4 divided by 12 is 3, which means 20% of the games was 3 games. 40% is going to be 6 games. 60% is going to be 9 games. So I'm increasing by 3 each time. So how many games total? 100% of the games, that was going to equal to 15 games. So we looked at 2 different ways of solving that problem as well. From here, you're going to pause the video and work questions number 1 and 2. Then we're going to get together and talk about them again, and then we'll come back and do the remaining questions after that. So here's the textbook's answers to questions number 1 and 2. And you can see they wrote these as fractions and then just simplified the fractions to find the information. For the first one, 30 out of 60, well, that's simplified to be 5 to 10. 5 to 10, they could then multiply top and bottom by 10, and that gave them 50 over 100, also known as 50%. For 15 out of 60, that they divided top and bottom by 15 to get 3 to 12. Not quite there yet. Then they could take and divide both of those by 3 and get 1 to 4th. Then they were able to multiply the 4 by 25, get to 100. 1 times 25 is 25, and that's 25%. The other two problems, they worked out the same way. For part A and 2, it says a sweater is regularly $32, and it's 25% off of the original price. Well, the first question is, would the amount the shopper saved be considered a part, a whole, or a percent? Well, right now, they're saying that they're saving 25%, so they are saving a percent, but what they saved is going to actually be a part of the whole $32. The percentage is how much of the part they saved, but what they're actually saving is a part of the whole. How much would the shopper save when buying the sweater? A couple of different ways they solved that. They said, well, 25%, that's equal to 25 over 100, which they simplified to be 1 to 4. And then they said, well, 1/4 of 32, or 32 times 1/4, was $8 saved. Really don't like their supporting work on that one, but it would work. And then the other option, they made their double line graph going from 0 to 100%, where 100% was 32, broke it down into their 25, 50, and 75%, and then they divided the 32 by 4, which gave them 8, 16, and 24% respectively. Once again, that showed them that the $8 was saved when they saved 25% off. Now you can take and pause the video and work the next two questions, which I believe are the two questions. You got question 3 that you're going to need to work down here, way down there. Let's try to turn it over here. There it is. There's question 3 and question 4. So go ahead and pause the video and work on those. For question 3, they said a pair of jeans was 30% off the original price. The sale resulted in a $24 discount. Is the original price going to be considered the part, the whole, or the percent? Well, the original price is the whole amount. The $24 is the part of the whole that was saved. And the 30%, that of course is going to be your percent. So going up from there, for part B, to find the original cost, first they took and converted their 30% into a fraction, which was 30 over 100. They simplified that to be 3 out of 10. And then from there, where did that 8 come from? Give me a second to think about that one. I see what they did. So they took and they said 3 times what number is the $24 that was saved? That was going to be 8. They do it on the top, they'd have to do it on the bottom. So 10 times the 8, it gave them $80, meaning that the original cost of the jeans was $80. They could also do it on the double number line, where they set it up with the amount saved on top and the percent on the bottom. Let's see if we can scroll that up a little bit so you can see it over my head. And then from there, they started working their way up, where they had the 10% was $8, 16% was so on, and the goal was to get up to where the total was. Now remember, they knew they would have originally just started with the 24 and 30. And then from there, they would have had to take the 24, divide it into 3 to find out that you'd have 8, 16, 24, and so on, because 1/3 of 24 is 8. 8 plus 8 is 16. 8 plus 16 is 24, and so on. And that is the way they filled in the top part of the double number line until they got up to 100% being $80. So 2 different ways that you can solve that one. For part 4, purchasing a TV that is 20% off will save $180. Name the different parts with the words part, whole, and percent. Well, the 20% off, that's going to be your percent. The $180, that's the part saved, and the whole, that's going to be your original amount. Then they solved it 2 different ways. The first way, they took and started off with the double line graph, where they started by focusing on this 20% to 180. And they said, well, half of 20% is 10%, and half of 180 is 90. So now they know what their increase is. 0 to 90 Add 90 to 90, you get 180. Add another 90, you get 270. Add another 90, you get 360. And they kept doing plus 90s until they made it all the way up to 100%, which meant the original price of that TV was a stupid level of $900. In my world, we don't spend $900 on a TV. That just doesn't happen. Using a mathematical approach to it, they did the same basic thing. They said 20% is equal to 20 over 100. And so they took their 21 over 100 and they said 20 times what number is 180? That number is going to be 9. If you do it on the top, you got to do it on the bottom. 100 times 9 gave you the same $900 that was the original price. So once again, two different ways to skin the cat. Now it's time for you to start doing your assignment. If you're in class, you can work with your neighbors and collaborate a little bit. If you're not, that's all right. You can still do these at home. And you can have these 3 questions that need to be answered here. Actually, it's almost comes like 4 question-ish, but you got to work those 4 problems, get them turned into me. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have about them tomorrow. I look forward to seeing you in class.